Hello! Once again, it is Saturday stream time. So I originally planned this to be my $100-ish GPU testing stream. And then, of course, like 3 days after I planned this, my community post poll came back, and pretty much everybody's like, we don't want to see you testing graphics cards on stream. So I'm like, oh, okay. Whoops. Anyway, yeah, those are them. Those are the candidates. Oh, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to do this stream. This week has been crazy. It work has been exhausting, so like I have almost no energy after work. So I just hop on like Deep Rock Galactic with friends and just rock and stone all night long. I've gotten like nothing done this week. Oh gosh. How is everyone? Hello, hello. Dave from Dave's Vintage Apple Tech is here. First again. Welcome. Way to be on time. I almost wasn't. I looked down at my clock. I'm like, oh, I have 3 minutes till stream. Hello, Chaslinix. Good to see you again. Lenalia, how are you doing? Lovely to see you here. Clarjon, hello. Hello, hello. Also, hello, person with a, looks like Chinese name? I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name. I don't speak Chinese. I don't speak any Southeast Asian languages, unfortunately. As much as I would love to, that'd be really nice. Anyway, welcome to stream week 2? Yeah, week 3. Stream week 3. Yes. Giveaway stream, $250 GPUs where I didn't get to testing the ARC. I tested it on Dave's stream the next day and it died. This was going to be a $100 GPU testing, which I don't know, maybe I won't. Maybe I won't do it. Anyway, let's see. Do I have a I do? Let me see if I can switch to this. One sec. There we go. So that's the state of the test bench right now. I've got the RX 6650 in here right now, and it's honestly it's a really competent GPU. I don't know how I really want to recommend it. The thing is, it doesn't do Discord streaming. I have learned this afternoon that it does not do Discord streaming not because of anything AMD is doing. Like there's a really decent and competent hardware video encoder on that thing, but Discord just doesn't support anything except NVENC for hardware encoding, and their software encoder is hot garbage. Even people are reporting of like 5900Xs, 5950Xs, 12, 16 core CPUs can't stream for anything on Discord with a non-NVIDIA graphics card, which is really disappointing. I really want to recommend that card because my tests have been great with it. It's real fast. It's good price for the speed and the performance. It's good value, but I can't recommend it because so many people still stream on Discord, and it just doesn't, because Discord has apparently no desire to implement any hardware encoding other than NVIDIA, which just boggles my mind. Anyway. Oh gosh. I'm so sorry, Dave. Like I was on that stream. Dave just said that their Wi-Fi and 5G have been vandalized 6 times in 6 weeks, and I was on that stream last Sunday, where someone once again vandalized Dave's internet connection, and he hopped off the stream. It was all running through StreamYard, and the stream just kept going because no one else could control the stream. It was kind of madness. It was amazing. I'm so sorry, Dave. I really hope that stops. Whoever is doing it will like chill and quit like breaking your stuff, because that's not cool. That's super not cool. Me, on the other hand, I have Comcast, so my internet goes down randomly for no reason, instead of people, vandalizing my internet connection. Hopefully we're good this stream. That's why I keep them short. Just keep them to an hour. That way my internet can't go down. I hope. I've just cursed myself, I know it. Oh good. Garth is admin now. That's good. Garth's a good person. Garth's a good bean. He'll make a good admin. Alright, so I know because people are going to ask. I have some ambrosia. I did make it. I made the mistake on my first stream of not making any ambrosia, and everybody called me out for it, so here it is. I'll wait until later to drink it, because it is technically drinkable. It is technically safe to consume. It tastes like a kick in the mouth, though, so I'll wait on that. But this morning I was just looking at the prices that these things have reduced to these days. Because several of these I bought a couple of weeks ago. I buy like a card every other week or so to build up the collection, because I can't like just drop $700 on $700 graphics cards all at once. So like several of these have gone down in price pretty dramatically since I got them. None of them have gone up as far as I've been able to tell. And poor Kepler here, the 780 Ti that I picked up about 2 years ago now. This poor thing is down to $70. Oof. That is what lack of driver support will do for a card. Oof, ouch. Get my phone out of the way here. Go there. I picked up a replacement WX4100 from anybody who watched my my $100 PC challenge from last year. You know, I tried to pick one of these up for cheap. And it ended up arriving in the mail looking like this. Got pretty crunched. Something fell on this thing hard. I have not been able to resuscitate this card. Several of the SMD components got popped off by the shroud, and the shroud of course is bent, and the fan doesn't really move. It's also missing a couple of fan blades in there. It got trashed. The back of the fan housing is cracked. Yeah, this thing just got destroyed. It's gonna go on my shelf of dead GPUs, sadly. But I picked up a replacement for it. They're finally starting to fall in price, because these things are weird, right? It's not a very capable GPU. This is Polaris with 1024 shaders. It's not very fast. You know, you're talking less than half of the performance of an RX 480. But, of course, it's got a few things that make it desirable. One being that it comes in, you know, half-height size for small form factor office PCs. Also, it has 4 display outputs, which that puts it into a class of card where there are people who will pay a lot of money for a card that is exactly this, right? That's small form factor and has 4 display outs. Mostly like digital signage. If you need a replacement GPU for your digital sign, like these things hold their value for that reason alone. Because they shouldn't cost as much as they cost, honestly. They're not very good. So I lucked out when I bought one for $30 for the $100 PC challenge. But I do still want to test it, because I think it's kind of interesting being just a 1024 shader Polaris card. It is technically twice as fast as the WX2100 that I ended up actually using in that video, which, if you saw it, as you know, I was actually able to do VR on the WX2100. So I would think that this would be even better. But who knows? So those are the little ones. I also picked up, because they're also falling in price, something quite interesting, which is the WX5100. This is another single slot like office card with four full-size display ports on it. The interesting parts about this card are a couple of things. This is about 1700 shaders. It's again Polaris GCN4, but no power connector. So it's slot power only. Total board power is 75 watts. Again, single slot cooler. This whole cooler is metal, by the way. Every single piece of this cooler is metal. I'm really curious to know how this performs. Also, 8 gigabytes of VRAM in something this small. Very interesting, and I'm very curious to see like how it runs in today's games, especially like esports games. You could literally just take a cheap office PC and slap this in and have an esports gaming rig, I think. So I think it'd be kind of cool. But again, these are, once again, like well under $100 these days. I think I picked this one up for 70 bucks. Like, not bad. Not bad. There are other models in the Radeon Pro WX series. These WX whatever 100 series are all Polaris, except for the top end one, which is a WX 90-100, which is Vega. Just a repackaged Vega with 16 gigs of VRAM. So also kind of a repackaged Radeon Instinct MI25. AMD really, really, really soaked Vega for all it was worth. Really soaked Vega. Let's see, the other really interesting 100-ish dollar GPU is the RX 5600, because this is RDNA 1, the very short-lived RDNA 1. It's modest power requirements. We've got a single 8-pin, 6 gigs of VRAM, so reasonable. Not amazing, but reasonable. And it's pretty quick, honestly. I've done a little bit of testing with this one, and it's pretty quick. And these run about 125 bucks these days, which is not bad. I feel like it's not bad for the performance you get out of the card. So this will be part of that roundup. There's not a lot else to say about it, because like these are still pretty, I consider these still modern cards. You know, we're well within driver support for these cards. They'll run pretty much anything, except for ray tracing, of course, being RDNA 1. There's no ray tracing support. But other than that, like, you're looking at the card that, you know, is in the modern consoles of various flavors. So, like, games written for the consoles should run nicely on this, too. It's interesting. And then, of course, I do have a box over here. The notorious RX 6400. The notorious laptop GPU slapped onto a card to make a buck in the middle of the pandemic, RX 6400. This, I think, is going to end up being a long-term tester for me, because I want to see, like, how bad is it today? How bad will it be in the future? As I have a feeling it's not going to age well. This is probably going to age like fine milk. That's my guess. PCI Express 4.0 X4, 4 lanes of PCI Express on this thing, 4 gigs of VRAM, only 2 display outputs, no hardware video encoder. It's pretty terrible. They still aren't there. The price has come down, thankfully. It started out at something like $250 at the start of the pandemic. It's finally come down to where it should be, which is about $125. I think it should probably be a $100 GPU for the very small feature set that it actually has. But I think it'd be funny. Mostly because it's terrible, but also, like, it is technically RDNA 2, so I could run Cyberpunk on RT Overdrive on this and get, like, seconds per frame. That could be funny. Oh, let's see what else. We've got the sole entry here from NVIDIA, because NVIDIA cards are ridiculously overpriced these days. I tried to buy a GTX 1660, and this arrived to me. I paid 1660 money for it, and I got a 1660 Super. So this is a 6 gig card. Also modest power requirements, just a single 8-pin. Not particularly fantastic, honestly. Like, the whole 16 series, just kind of gap filler GPUs, honestly. we'll see how it does in the testing, but I've played around with it a little bit just in like my own things that I run, and it's not impressive. It's definitely not selling me on the 16 series, being one of the more powerful versions of the 16 series. Like, the only thing more powerful is the 1660 Ti. I feel bad for everybody out there who has 1650s, because this thing's bad. I can't even imagine what a 1650 is like. Then lastly, well, almost lastly, we've got, you see these popping up all the time right now as Chinese crypto Chinese crypto miners offload their GPU supplies, because this was a staple during the height of Ethereum mining. This is the RX 590 GME. This is the GME is the Chinese market version of the RX 590. That basically means it's just an RX 580, so you don't get the increased clocks, you don't get any additional shaders. It's 2304 shaders, RX 580 clocks. You do get, and the reason this was the crypto mining card du jour is you get 8 gigs of VRAM. So these, I picked this thing up for like $80. They're currently going for $130, which is much too much for what these things are, because they are, in the end, just RX 480s running a little bit faster. But similar to all the cards here, 1/8 pin for power, so pretty modest power requirements. We'll see how it does. And this would be a nice foil to the Radeon Pros, because this is also Polaris. Full fat Polaris, as some would say. Lastly, I was just looking at my shelf of GPUs, and I saw this, and I'm like, I wonder how much these go for nowadays, because it wasn't long ago, during driver support for these, that these were pretty expensive. This is a GTX 780 Ti. Of course, this is the end of Kepler. Big beefy card, needs 2 8-pins. About a 300 watt total board power. She runs hot, and she used to be fast. 3 gigs of VRAM. She doesn't do a whole lot anymore these days, and it's priced accordingly. These things are about $70 to $80 on eBay. But I thought it'd be kind of funny to throw it into these like much lower end, more modern GPUs and see like how does the old behemoth still run these days. So it's kind of a little potpourri option. So that's the plan. Test all these GPUs, get some benchmark data down for them, because then I can use them in my cheap Ryzen video that's upcoming, where I take a look at like really low end Ryzen CPUs. What? Come on, focus on this one. Oh, you can do it. You can do it. Hide my face, maybe they'll figure it out. Anyway, I have a whole bunch of like ultra inexpensive Ryzen CPUs that are like 40 to 50 bucks on eBay, maybe. And I want to see how they do. Just like with normal everyday computing, gaming tasks, stuff like that, content creation. And see like, is it viable to put together a low-end AM4 system these days and, you know, not spend a huge amount of money and actually like get some decent performance for it. So once I have the base benchmark numbers for these cards via the monster, the 5950X in the test bench, then I can see like how much performance are you leaving on the table, right? Like here's the number that this card gets using a 5950X. Here's how many frames per second you get less using a 2200G or something. And that would be, you know, part of the analysis for whether it would be a good idea to even get a 2200G, which I don't know. We'll see. Motherboard prices for AM4 have gone up, I realized, since I started collecting all this stuff to do this video. Because this thing I picked up for $48. Now you can't get these for less than $70, which is not a great bargain. because you can pick up new AM4 motherboards for $80. So, I guess we'll see. I'll just factor all that stuff into the final value analysis. Anyway, enough about me. Enough about incoming or upcoming videos. How is everybody doing over in the chat? What do we got? Garth still wants to know what the Ambrosia is. Again, I will not reveal my secrets until I've come up with a better shtick. Once I figure out a better little shtick for my channel, I'll reveal what this actually is. Everybody can laugh and be like, oh wow, that's so silly. But until I figured out something better than this, my secrets are my own. Hello, alright. Modded Like Hell, welcome back. Welcome to the stream. Everything's Broken Garage, hello. How's it going? Yes, Modded Like Hell asks, I've missed a lot in the last few weeks. 8 GB topic is the thing now. Yeah, apparently, everybody's decided that 8 GB of VRAM is like the minimum level of VRAM you need to do anything on a computer these days, which is... It is what it is. Honestly, like, it's just game companies getting worse about optimizing their games. I saw somebody lamenting, like, the rise of Nanite in Unreal Engine 5. Like, oh yeah, it's LODs for people who don't want to make real LODs. And, like, most companies making games are gonna, like, outsource their LODs either through an automatic, like, wrapper library, like SpeedTree or something. Not SpeedTree, but there's like auto LOD libraries that'll just generate your lower poly versions of your assets. Nanite, of course, does that automatically, or that's the idea. It's been a long time since we had, like, really, really well-optimized games on anything, on PC or console. With the possible exception of the Switch, because it's just such low-end hardware that, devs really need to be conscientious about not just GPU optimization, but CPU optimization as well. It's been a while. Even through, I was really hoping we'd see some good optimization through, like, the 8th gen consoles, like the PS4 and the Xbox One. But even then, even with those consoles, lack of CPU horsepower, we still got just game devs, or publishers at least, are more than happy to just ship a 30 FPS experience instead of optimizing the game. So, I don't know. It's a... Time marches on, I guess. Or, play older games or indie games. I love the indie games that I've been playing. They're great. They're fun. They're challenging, they're rewarding to play, they're creative, and they don't require, an RTX 4090 to get playable frame rates. I appreciate that. Modded Like Hell says, I picked up one of those same Power Color cards, RX 5700 XT, yesterday for $100 on a whim. 20 minutes away and the deal looked good. I think you're going to be very happy with it. The 5700 XT is kind of a dark horse. I don't think a lot of people really realize how good it is as just a GPU. During the mining craze, it got used as a mining staple because, RDNA 1 is really good at doing compute. That's why AMD turned it into CDNA. But it also makes a really, really good, like, 1080 Ti class graphics card for general gaming. Like, they're really good. They're really nice cards. I like them. And yeah, picking one up for $100 is fantastic. That's a terrific deal. Like I said, the 5600 XT that I found was running for, nowadays on eBay, are like $125. So picking up the 5700 for less than that is great. That's a great deal. Patrick from OCR guesses a milk and cream element to the green drink, to the Ambrosia. Negative, Ghost Rider. Sorry, that is not, there's no milk or cream in here. I am actually lactose intolerant, so I try to avoid milk and cream when I can. No milk. Good guess, though. Chaz Linux says cards are still in demand enough that the best card we've seen, Chaz works at a PC recycler, the best card we've ever gotten in is only 6 gigabytes, and that was only last week. People are still hanging on to their 4 gigabyte and better cards. Yeah. Prices are bad right now. Like, they're really bad. I would love to build, like, a really small, compact, low-power gaming rig for my primary gaming, like with a 4070 and my 5800 X3D. It'd just be so power efficient, and I really appreciate not pumping all that heat into my room as summer approaches, but like, I don't want to spend that much money on a 4070. They're so expensive. No. 4070 is exactly the same speed as my 3080 12 gig. Like, it would be a side grade. I would drop power consumption basically, and like, no. It doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. Prices are still way too high. Prices are too high for everything. Patrick says, okay, going into my bartender book. There's also no alcohol in this. Believe it or not, I'm like this without alcohol. There's no alcohol in this. None whatsoever. No cream, no milk, no alcohol. Alright, I should probably, we're half hour into the stream, I should probably prove that it's drinkable. Oh. Whew. That is still a kick in the mouth. Gosh. Alright. Enough of that. Oh. Yes. Chaz, absolutely. Chaz says housing, also expensive, yes. Housing, food, computer components, pretty much everything. Cars, used cars are still ridiculous. Like, people want $8,000 for, like, a 15-year-old Prius. Like, no. Everything is too expensive. Everything is too expensive. It's not good. Mevunky says, 3070 secondhand is getting cheap now, so I think I'll target it this Christmas for a quick bargain from a 2070. Yeah. Yeah, not bad. 3070 is actually, it's not a bad card as long as you don't max out the VRAM, and like, some conscientious use of performance sliders in a game can prevent you from maxing out the VRAM. That's, like, this whole issue is just people want to load up a game and set all the sliders to maximum. Like, it's just kind of ridiculous. Especially since, I don't know if anyone's noticed, but like a lot of games, you set that slider to maximum and it doesn't look any different between like high and ultra, or like ultra and extreme, or epic, or whatever. It doesn't look any different. I don't know, I can't tell the difference. It certainly isn't worth, like, you know, your frame rate dropping by half. I don't know. I just don't think it's worth it. Clarjon says, but maximum! Yeah, everybody likes to pull that slider to the right. Everybody likes it. Garth, the chat on this stream, 50%, what is that drink? The other 50%, GPUs. Yeah, well, you know, one of the things I learned early on in making my channel is you gotta have a shtick, you know? You gotta have a shtick. Garth has the parrot and the toy monkeys, and I've got my green drink. I have my mystery green drink. Menfoki continues, yeah, the gains are poor and I play mostly competitive games, so run trash settings for FPS anyway. Yeah, I mean, at that point, like, who cares? Just turn all the settings down. It's fine. I also, like, for example, I play a lot of Deep Rock Galactic, like, probably too much Deep Rock Galactic, but I like to run it at 1080p. Actually, I run it at 4K, 50% res scale, at mediums that are, no, not medium. It goes up to ultra. I run it one notch below ultra at high settings because I still get, I still hit the 120 FPS frame rate cap, which keeps it nice and responsive, but my 3080 gig is not screaming its face off over in the corner and belching a bunch of hot air into my room. Yeah, absolutely. Just run it at lower settings. Like 1080p on a 4K display is it just doubles pixels. It looks fine. Garth's gimmick is retro techie. I don't know how retro techie turned into a meme in this group, but the poor guy has turned into a meme. Linalia wants to figure out, let's figure out what GPUs are best at rendering green drinks. So you probably want something with ray tracing acceleration, I'm gonna guess. Since, you want to be able to get the volumetric lighting inside the drink is very important. You can see that it doesn't it's not quite opaque, but it's pretty opaque. There's not a lot of light transmission through it. So I would suggest probably something with hardware ray tracing acceleration. Speaking of which, I'm all this ray tracing stuff just makes me remember the what is it, the Debenvec demo from the Radeon 9700 Pro back in the day. R300, when AMD or when ATI back then released it, like, that thing was a monster. And they released this demo. Of course, every company back then released tech demos to show off their GPUs because there was no software that could use the new random features that they brought out. So one of the demos for R300, seriously, 9700 Pro, 9800 Pro, the demos for that generation were just masterful. They brought out real-time Anna Music. Everybody remembers the Anna Music, the one big Anna Music animation that everybody knows. AMD released a demo that ran that in real time on a 9700 Pro, which was incredibly impressive at the time. But then the other one that they brought out that was really impressive was I want to say it's the Debenvec demo. There was a SIGGRAPH paper on doing real-time lighting and reflection way back in 2001, and AMD implemented it for this demo. And it's just a little scene with like a marble dais with a couple of little spiral holders, and they just hold spheres, just glass spheres, various colors, and then there's like a flat skybox around the back that reflects and refracts through these glass spheres, and it was just honestly kind of the peak of real-time computer graphics. I don't think we've ever actually gotten better graphics since then. We just get more polygons on the screen. Yes, I saw that. Glarjon says, someone recreated Anna Music to make a Mario version. I've seen that. It's fantastic. Talk about putting in effort to make a meme. It's very good. It goes through a couple of Mario Underground themes in the style of that Anna Music animation. It's really good. Thank you. Thank you for putting the link in there. Please come back to the stream after you watch it. Linalia says, I was not expecting a serious answer. Well, I don't have a system, like, at hand that I could just plunk a 9800 Pro into and just show you guys the Debenvec demo. But, like, oh gosh, it's one of the best demos. I run a secret second channel that I haven't been advertising a lot. It's called Vintage Graphics, where I just run vintage tech demos on cards and just post them. I just post the demos raw on that channel. And I don't think I've gotten to that one yet. I think I've only gotten up through the Radeon 8500. So I haven't done the 9800 Pros demos yet. I should do those. I should do those and post them. I've kind of fallen off the horse on that on the second channel because I haven't been testing a whole bunch of vintage graphics cards lately, which is my fault. Yes, Garth says the Computer Clan channel did some videos on Animusic too. Yes. God, I've forgotten his name, but he did a really great look into what the heck Animusic was and where they are now. And yeah, if you haven't seen that video, it's very good. It's very good. Yeah, no, I just post and the thing is like, these things already exist on YouTube. Like, you can go find any of these random demos posted on YouTube, but I run them like on the hardware they're supposed to be running on, and I run them at the resolution that they're supposed to be running at, and I run them just straight, just one run, record it, so it gets all the little hitches and hiccups that they couldn't optimize out in time for the tech demo release. So like it's a very raw look at, you know, what computer graphics were at the time, like evolving over time. I'd like to do more DOS demos too, because like I spent a lot of time when I had my DOS machine just watching demos on it. The problem is, demos in DOS almost universally require an ultrasound, and I don't have a Gravis ultrasound sound card anymore. So one of my major regrets in life is that I sold it way back when for like $50, and I have never ever made peace with that, and I refuse to spend $1,500 on another copy on eBay. So I'm probably going to end up building Ian Scott's Pico Gus. He's doing a really good Gravis ultrasound emulation on Raspberry Pi Pico. This is the Pico that's destined for my Pico Gus. You load his binary onto the Pico, and then you solder this onto a special carrier board, and it just plugs into an ISA slot and acts like an ultrasound. And he's gotten the compatibility up to a pretty high standard. He is also testing using DOS demos that I want to run again and record and post and enjoy, because it's been 30 years ish, almost 30 years since I've seen any of those demos. I miss them. They were part of my childhood. But yeah, the Pico Gus project from Ian Scott, definitely worth checking out. All open hardware, I think. Yeah, all open hardware. I think he's got instructions on his GitHub for it. Nice. Mivaki says, the Pico Gus is awesome. Yes, it is. And he picked up an MT32 recently, and it's been great fun. MT32 is what a wild music module. Just like, it just does things so differently from everything else. It's such a weird thing. I love it. I would love to get my hands on an MT32 one of these days. Funnick the Fudge Hog. Hello. How are you doing? I don't have the deck board ready. No, I don't have the DAC board ready for the install. I'm waiting on it. Ian and I have been talking. He's got some parts that he can send me, and I'll give him a shout out when I do the build. And I'll probably end up doing the build either in a stream or on a video or both. But yeah, you'll know when I've got a Pico Gus up, because I actually, like, 12-year-old me, like, actually, like, composed music using my old ultrasound back in the day on Fast Tracker on my 486, and it was good fun. I really enjoyed it. So, like, I would absolutely love to load up Fast Tracker again and find those old mod files that I made. It's been a long time. Yes, the stream will be in video format. Awesome. Lenalia also got an MT32. That's very cool. Very, very cool. I think the thing to do with it is play Monkey Island. I think that's probably like the banner app for the MT32. Because at the time Monkey Island came out, it was you didn't have a lot of choices for sound on the PC. I think it was AdLib and CMS, and that was about it, and PC Speaker. And the MT32, which is just a phenomenal upgrade over those other things. Nice. Funuk has built built a few Pico Gus's. Awesome. Awesome. Lenali also has an SC55 on the way. Awesome. Very cool. Chaz Linux says Zach Wild on the Hello Kitty guitar. Yes. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Mivunky says I'd love an Orpheus too, but yeah, oh my gosh, that is that is way too rich for my blood. Way too rich for my blood. Orpheus 2 is a sort of an open source ish. I don't know if it even is open source, but it's a revival sound card project to build like the ultimate ISA DOS sound card using a lot of like new old stock chips. Because like you can't get the GF1 anymore, the Gravis GF1 chip that made up the ultrasound and the Ultrasound Max. But you can get like the AMD Interwave chip that made up the Gravis Ultrasound Plug and Play. You can still get those in various places. I don't know if they're overproduced or if AMD just made them for a really long time or what, but you can still get those, and that's the heart of some of these. I don't know if it's the Orpheus. I think the Orpheus uses the Interwave, but there's a couple of projects out there that use the Interwave to basically give you just a GUS plug and play, because that was it. It was a single chip solution that basically created the GUS plug and play. I don't know, Funuk. I don't know what the Orpheus 3 might be. No idea. Honestly, I don't really follow the revival sound card, thing a whole lot. I just have a couple of like budget sound blasters and clones that I use in my DOS machines because like that's mostly what I had at the time, and like once you get into general MIDI, it's basically just personal preference at that point. Like how you like your games to sound just becomes personal preference. And other than I'd say an MT32, which has some specific support in a number of older games in DOS, to my mind, you get a sound card that works in most games, and you're good to go. Yeah, I don't know the Interwave. I don't know how many Interwaves still exist. Let me see. Let me browse on stream. I really shouldn't do this, but I'm gonna try. Let's see if I can find AMD Interwave chips on AliExpress. A lot of AMD processors. No Interwaves, it looks like. So I don't know. Maybe they're not as common as I thought they'd be, but yeah. That's been a number of them have been the Interwave chips. I think it's probably because they were overproduced. The GUS plug and play really wasn't a hot seller. It was still pretty expensive back in the time, and the GUS compatibility, the actual ultrasound compatibility, wasn't 100% at the time. So like there were too many questions about like would it actually work. Plus the whole PC market was moving away from ISA sound cards and moving into like AC97 and PCI sound cards at the time. So unfortunate. The Gravis Ultrasound shone very brightly for a very short amount of time in the 90s, but it's a really interesting card. Ivunky says they're running out of stuff to cram into a card, so I'd be surprised if they're not also running out of chips too. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the problem with these revival sound card projects. Is like eventually you run out of chips because they're not being made anymore. And like sound cards aren't something that like once they hit the great e-waste pile in Southeast Asia, the sound cards aren't really a thing that's on a lot of scrappers' radars to like save the chips from. So, you know, yeah. Phoenix says, I think the Pico Gus is indicative of the way things will go ultimately. I think yes. I think yes. I think high quality emulation, like similar, like look at how emulation is happening, the changes that are happening to the emulation world with the Mister. Right, I think you're right. I think the same thing is going to happen with sound cards and probably some other vintage, DOS-ish hardware. Think about like the original Voodoo Graphics, right? Like that's definitely in a power class that could be emulated by FPGAs these days. When will we see it? I don't know. I think it's probably gonna happen. Yeah. Speaking of the Voodoo Graphics, I love my Voodoo Graphics, but like it's probably the most useless card you can get for a retro PC, if I'm being honest. Like there's a handful of games that will only run on a Voodoo Graphics. They're not they're probably not your cup of tea. They're not my cup of tea anyway. You're better served by getting like a Voodoo 2 or even hacking in support on a Voodoo 3 if you're looking for like a Voodoo card for a DOS machine. But I don't think the Voodoo 2, I think the Voodoo 2 is a bit out of the reach of like inexpensive FPGAs, stuff like the DE10 Nano, stuff like that. I don't think we can do that on in FPGAs yet, not for reasonable prices. Mavunky, it's funny you say that. Cheap mini FPGA stuff on cards is a thing of the future. It's funny you say that. There are a very large number of like new bus Macintosh graphics cards that are just FPGAs on a card because the volume was low enough at the time back in the late 80s and the very early 90s. It didn't make sense to like actually get an ASIC built and fabbed. You could just buy off the shelf FPGAs, store their programming in some EPROMs and just have them, configure themselves at runtime or at boot time. There's a not insignificant number of like old Macintosh graphics cards that are just FPGAs on a card. It's kind of cool. Everything old is new again. Yeah, no, it's a nice card to add. Mavunky bought a Voodoo 1 for some cash. Um, it's a good card to have in your collection, but like, I just got the 4 meg version because it's not really going to use the extra VRAM. There were only 6 MB versions out in the wild back then, and it doesn't really have the clock speed performance to render at higher resolutions. So adding another 2 megs to the frame buffer chip doesn't really buy you a whole lot. Um, IMO, my opinion, but what I would kill for is a 12 MB Voodoo 3 or Voodoo 2. A 12 meg Voodoo 2 would be amazing. Those were like the card to get for a long time. They're surprisingly functional cards for many, many years. I didn't buy one back then because it was too expensive, and I never ended up picking one up over the years. And now they're just unobtainium prices. I would love one. 12 meg Voodoo 2 would be amazing. I would throw that into my daily DOS PC in a heartbeat. There's no reason that 8 meg couldn't exist. I mean, I think Obsidian 3D made a couple, but like the consumer cards, it was 4 meg and 6 meg mostly. Um, yeah, I know the 8 megs were out there, but again, Like the card already runs too slow at 640 by 480. You know, like running 800 by 600 or 1024 by 768 is just like, why? And overclocking them is not a fun time because they run so hot. I had a friend who had a Voodoo 2 SLI setup, and I was always jealous. Always jealous. At the time, what did I even have? I think I was still gaming on my parents' PC at the time, and it was like, it was a K62 350, and a Voodoo Banshee. As best I could do. But yeah, he had a, I want to say he had a K63, 450, with two Voodoo 2s, 12 megs. That thing ran Quake 2 in GL mode like nothing else I'd ever seen. It was just stunning. It was just stunning to see. I'm thinking about it, honestly, Funik. I am thinking about it. Just picking up an 8 megabyte Voodoo 2 and swapping the RAM or soldering on the additional 4 chips for 12 megs. I'm thinking about it real hard. Because, yeah, also, I had no soldering skills back then. I still have very, very simple soldering skills right now, but yeah, that's definitely a thing I'm thinking about. I would absolutely love to just have a... It would solve a lot of my problems with my daily DOS build, honestly. Because, like, most games, I'm building something in around the, like, Pentium 2 300 to Pentium 3 500 range, performance range. And in that range, like, you don't want to run an NVIDIA or an ATI card because their drivers are just, they're too crap to get any performance out of them. You want to run a 3DFX card because their drivers are very slim and very well programmed and very fast. But, like, the compatibility issues with the Banshee and with the Voodoo 3 for games at the time, the Voodoo 2 was the way to go, and I would take that in a heartbeat. Like, I'd probably use the TNT2 for a main card for the DOS compatibility, because they're really good in DOS. Not perfect, but really good in DOS. And then really good Direct3D support for the random Direct3D games, and then everything else just run on the Voodoo 2. It'd be great. It'd be absolutely great. Patrick says, would you tell me what's in the green drink if I send you a Voodoo 2 12 megabyte? No, because you'll instantly regret it. Keep your Voodoo 2 if you even have one. I don't know. I know you're a professional bullshitter. But no, keep your Voodoo 2. You don't want to know what's in the green drink for the price of a Voodoo 2. Oh, what do we got? Oh, wow. That's 8 minutes to go on the stream. That's amazing. This went by very quickly. Y'all are really great, by the way. I was really worried about streaming. I'm not super comfortable, like, just being out there and existing and, like, doing stuff off script. So I really appreciate all of y'all for coming to the streams, because you've been really a fantastic, fantastic audience. Every single time I've done one of these streams, it's been really cozy, and we've been able to chat retro hardware and laugh about stuff and all the silly things that companies did back in the day. Patrick says, I have 4. You don't want to know. You don't want to know what's in the green drink for the price of a Voodoo 2. I would love a Voodoo 2. No, I won't do that to you. Clarjon says, you're doing very good at being perceived. Thank you. I practice every day. I'm glad. Modded Like Hell says stream's been fun. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I did make a community post asking what folks were looking for, and the overwhelming response was all of the above. People just want to hop in a stream, I guess, and chat, which is cool. Um, I think I'm probably gonna. I don't actually know. I don't actually know what I'm gonna do for the next stream. So I've been working on a game idea I've had. Uh, this has been stewing in my brain for about 3 years at this point, and I figure I'm right about at the point where I can start digging into it and doing like the real dev work on it, which I anticipate is going to take me probably a couple more years of like solid dev work to get this thing where I want it to be. But I am planning on a DOS release for it. Um, I'm hopeful. We'll see how performance is. I need to do some performance tests and run it on a few computers in the lab and see like what. Because the biggest problem with like DOS support in modern gaming libraries is like, sure, DOS support, but you need, a K62 600 megahertz or a Pentium 3 750 or something, to even run the game. It's just like a 2D game. Just because there's no low-level programming anymore these days. And like I'm certainly not going to write anything in assembler. I don't know assembler. I certainly am not going to be learning x86 assembler to write this game. So it's going to be all high-level language for me. So it's going to be probably some onerous system requirements. But if I can get the performance to where I want it to be on something that's at least somewhat attainable, probably something that would be like a late DOS, early Win95, Win98 gaming PC, I will release a DOS version of this game that I'm working on, because that would be just fantastic, and that would make the little kid inside me squeal with joy to see my name on a big box for DOS. A real DOS game. Anyway, I'll probably start making some announcement videos on it once I start getting into the process, and I might end up streaming some of that development process on these streams, just to like go over maybe something interesting that I found while I was coding or something like that. But what else we got? Pickle, hello Pickle, welcome. Pickle says my original Voodoo 3 stopped working. Disappointed ever since. Replaced it with a GeForce FX 5200. Yeah, they, the Voodoo 3 especially, really liked to cook itself to death. I've got two Voodoo 3s. A PCI one that I picked up and an AGP one that was a very generous gift from Pixel Pipes. I'm planning on doing a comparison between the two, just to just to prove. I mean, it's already a known thing that like older 3DFX cards didn't really use the AGP bus for anything. They just treated it like a fast PCI bus. But like those things, both of them just run so hot. You gotta have a fan on them at all times, and it's gotta be a pretty decent fan too. Yeah, that's the big problem with Mivunky and OCR are both like, finding matching Voodoo 2 cards. If you want to do SLI, you've got to have two cards that sync up correctly across that SLI connector. And, back in the day, of course, it was usually you bought two of them from the same manufacturer. Now, these days, of course, with there being so little supply of them, you kind of mix and match and make do, and a lot of the time it doesn't work. Or it's not terribly stable. Have I done any game development before this game? Just a little bit, not a ton. Like, this is going to be probably my first, like, real game. And I'm thinking about, honestly, making a couple of smaller games during this process, just to, like, figure out how things are working and like, build up some libraries and some functions and handlers and stuff, while I'm making, like, the game that I've been wanting to make. Because, it's going to be an iterative process. I can't just, like, spring forth a fully formed, fun-to-play, awesome game as my first game. I'm not that kind of a, brilliant programmer or anything. Voodoo 3 is 183 megahertz. or Voodoo 3, or 183 megahertz Banshee plus 1 TMU, which... Yeah, so the top end Voodoo 3 is 183 megahertz, and it does end up being roughly equal to like two Voodoo 2s, because they're 90 megahertz each in SLI. Because SLI, back when 3DFX implemented it, was very efficient. Like that SLI connector, made direct electrical connections between the two frame buffer chips on the two Voodoo 2s. It was not like, it wasn't a bus protocol, it wasn't packet driven or anything, it wasn't I2C, it was a direct electrical connection between those two chips. It was very, very low latency and high bandwidth. So they really nailed literally the scan line interleave, like every other scan line was every other card. So the Voodoo 3 is actually pretty close to two Voodoo 2s. The nice part about the Voodoo 3 is it has that integrated 2D engine. And same about the Banshee. A lot of later games that came out after the Voodoo 2 was released for a year or so started to make use of windowed rendering. Not directly, but like they'd open a window in Direct 3D and then go full screen. And like, unless you had specific support for a Voodoo card in it, it would crash on a Voodoo 1 or a Voodoo 2, because they can't make a window. They can't render into a window since they're dedicated 3D only. So it solved a bunch of compatibility issues with later games. But then again, these are DirectX 6 cards, and after that you get DirectX 7 and DirectX 8, and they become less and less compatible with games. My suggestion for if you go dual Voodoo 2 or a Voodoo 3, or even a Banshee, like you mentioned, it depends on the games you want to play. It depends on the games you want to play. For me, the games I want to play would be best on a Voodoo 2. SLI would be great, but even just a single Voodoo 2 would play all the games that I want to play on my DOS PC basically perfectly. I've been testing a little bit with my Voodoo 3 and my Banshee, and like the compatibility with later games is pretty great. But the compatibility falls off with earlier games, right, where they expect a Voodoo 2. And you have to either hack config files or move DLLs around, or it just doesn't work. I'd say, target the games that you're looking to play for the Voodoo cards. They're all pretty performant. Like, the two Voodoo 3s that I have are the low-end ones. They're the Voodoo 3 2000s. 2000? Yeah, 3000? 2000. There's 2000, the 3000, the 3500. I have the low-end ones, and they're still, like, performant enough to, like, basically play any game I want to play at, like, 800 by 600 or 1024 by 768. They run fine. So, the faster Voodoo 3s are just icing on the top. Alright, that is 5:02 local time, so that is stream. Yeah, I don't see any other questions in here. Oh, Dave asks, Amber, are you going to have your circuit board logo available for your fans? Yes, I am trying to source stickers. I'm working on it. I've got like 10 plates in the air, and I'm juggling them all, and that's one of the plates. I'm definitely going to have some merch. Don't worry about it. It's going to happen. Going to happen. And yes, in the rare, Patrick mentions the rare Voodoo 3 1000, yes. And the Velocity cards that are Voodoo 3s with one of their texture management units or one of their texture mapping units disabled, that you can re-enable. Yes, 3DFX milked the Avenger chip, like they really did. I really wish they were still around. I think they could have made some interesting stuff, but too much hubris. Too much hubris, not enough engineering, sadly. Not enough marketing, honestly. Like, they just got out-marketed by NVIDIA. That's a whole nother rant that I would love to go on one day about transform and lighting and the GeForce 256 and how it killed 3DFX. 3DFX was killed by marketing. All right. Eric from Eric's Edge, good to see you here. Thank you for the suggestion on PS Print. I'll take a look at them. But yeah, that is stream. Thanks everybody for coming, and I'll talk to y'all in the next one. And hopefully I'll have another video up for you soon. I haven't even started testing these cards, so I wouldn't expect the next video to arrive terribly soon, but it is in the works. I will talk to y'all then, huh? How about that? I still need like an outro bumper or something so I can like play my outro music like I'm supposed to at the end of a video. Anyway, love y'all. Take care of each other and stay alive out there, alright? Keep that old tech humming. I'll talk to you in the next one. Have a good night.